What's up, guys? George Balekji here with Boston has entered the chat. But hey, check out the latest episode of Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. With Will Campbell's arm measurements out there, Travis and I break down what do they do at left tackle between free agency, the draft. We're talking possible trade backs, everything out there. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, let's get to the chat. Oh, yeah. It's a new week, baby.
Come on.
Boston has entered the chat. George Balekji here with Travis Thomas. Big T, how we doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm here with you.
My guy.
Everything is lovely.
My guy.
I love that hoodie, by the way.
Thanks, man.
I like that.
You got new kicks on. You got the new vibes of them.
I do. Should
do
I?
it. Yes, do
Should
it.
I do it?
Oh.
You know I got big feet, man. I got to...
So there are all black
All
Air
black
Force Ones.
everything. There ain't no Air Force Ones.
No, and then there's those.
Right. Here we go. Ooh.
Whatever they are.
Look at this. A little shoe cam action
Well,
right
black,
here. How about that?
It's going to go for a lot of money on OnlyFans.
I'm not a shoe guy, so I have no idea what player wears these or what these are called.
I don't think anybody does.
Sorry
those are the
to let
dad
you
sevens.
these are.
But you can hoop in them.
No, I can't.
You're a point A to point B type guy.
I ain't got no CLs.
Facts.
So I can't. All I can do now, hooping wise, is catch and shoot, and I've never been a shooter, so I can't really. I've always been defense and rebounding. I can't do either anymore. Sorry.
Hey, getting past all the shoe talk, we're going to talk arm talk. But first off, with the Patriots, money does not buy taste. So what's a Patriots' taste going to be in free agency? How will they spend it? Reports tell us where. We'll get to that. Plus, size matters. Will Campbell's arms, the measurements are out. What does that mean for New England? What does that mean for the tackle in the draft? And either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Oh.
That was John Cena. An epic night in wrestling. Athan and Jason break down a wild Saturday on the latest emergency ringside review.
It's an elite tease.
But let's get right into it. Thank you, my guy.
That's an elite tease right there.
Thank you.
Was that a Batman quote? What was that?
Yes,
was that
it was.
Bane?
The Harvey Dent.
Beautiful work.
Either die the hero or live long enough to see
Beautiful
yourself
work.
become the villain.
Way to go.
John Cena, man, did not see that coming. Jason and Athan got more on that. But let's get into the Patriots and the free agent targets.
Yep.
So what's great about NFL Combine weekend, you get a lot of answers for the prospects. Shuttle times, 40-yard dash, the measurements, that really matters, especially for a tackle-needy team. But also, when it comes to the Combine, when it comes to the draft as well, those weekends, it's a lot of information gathering by the insiders. So a lot of reports have come out, and Andrew Callahan and Doug Kite over at the Boston Herald have put out an article about the Patriots' free agent targets. So one of the parts that they mentioned in all of this was what they plan to do, what they're hearing about free agency. And top of the list, Ronnie Stanley,
Good.
Milton Williams, Charvarius Ward,
All right.
Chris Godwin.
Okay.
Notable absentees like Josh Sweat, but let's start with what they think could happen at left tackle. Now, Ronnie Stanley is the number one target.
Yeah.
They look at Dan Moore, Cam Robinson. Dan Moore is a vet with the Steelers. Cam Robinson, a vet with the Rams.
Yeah.
What do you make of this? Because it sounds like also everything that's coming out, trenches.
Yes.
And on day one, the Patriots are going to be heavy and active.
They need that.
Ronnie Stanley seems to be the number one target.
I'm so happy with that. I imagine you have to be too. We have broke him down a ton on Foxborough Rush. Check that out on Nesson as well and wherever you get your podcast. But I understand he's a little longer in the tooth, but at the same time, you are so desperate at this position. And by the way, this is a position, left tackle, that does not grow on trees. You can't get them. You can't find them. It's a lot like quarterback, right? Look, there's a lot of ways you can attack getting a quarterback to your team. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the right one. We know you can go free agency. We know you can draft. We know you can trade, and it still doesn't work out sometimes. Left tackle is the exact same way. This draft is a good example of it. We'll talk about Will Campbell later, but you just don't know for sure whether or not you have a bookend tackle in this draft. It's a debatable thing. Drafts in the past, there has been no debates. I mean, even going back a year, George, Joe Alt was considered the guy. It wasn't really debated. He was drafted, and voila, after his rookie year, he looks like the guy. So in this draft, that doesn't seem to exist. So you have to go at it a different angle. Free agency has presented itself. You happen to have all the money in the world if you're the Patriots in terms of the salary cap. Ronnie Stanley is a guy who has been solid across the board for what I say his whole life. doing my research on this kid, going all the way back to high school through Notre Dame. He has been solid. He's been a winner everywhere he's been. Obviously, we know the Ravens, he had success. And he's just older now. And they don't want to pay that kind of money to this guy. They got other money going elsewhere. I think it's a Patriots win.
Yeah.
I think he should be the number one priority. I thought T. Higgins should be. It doesn't appear as though he is anymore. So Ronnie Stanley now should be the number one option, the number one target for the Patriots in the biggest area of need. This is a no-brainer. Pay the guy whatever he wants.
It sounds like, no one expects T. Higgins to be leaving the Bengals, but
Right.
for the Patriots, they don't want to give up the draft assets they would have to acquire T. Higgins.
That's right.
Who you have to pay too. So it makes sense.
It
If
makes
was
sense.
simple free agency, you sign them, but to give up assets, and you don't with Ronnie Stanley. Keep in mind the Ravens and Ronnie Stanley, though, like Eric DeCosta has said it, head coach John Harbaugh has said it, DeCosta being the GM. They want to keep him. They know he's
want
important.
to.
They want to get to an agreement, right? And they have the means that they can pay. Like, guys are coming off the books on that defensive side. Ronnie Stanley's super important. But they've also said there are the backups. Now, for the Patriots, the backups for them, it could be a Dan Moore, who was a left tackle for the Steelers for 4 seasons, actually played left tackle. So don't hear Steelers tackle free agent scary. It's not another Chooks Okorafor. Or Cam Robinson. Cam Robinson, you have 30 years old, 7-year starter at left tackle. Dan Moore, he will be 26, 6'5", 311, 4-year starter at left tackle, coming off a really good season, only allowed 41 pressures and over 600 pass block snaps. Those are the guys they're going to key on, and that's what sounds like it. And this also echoes what Mike Vrabel and Ellie Wolf have said. Like, if we miss on one, we have two, we have three. We have option A, B, and C.
Right.
It sounds like day one of legal tampering, March 10th, they're going to go hard after Ronnie Stanley.
Yes.
And everything that they've said, too. Mike Vrabel, I like to build my offense around my best player. The best player is Drake May. They got to protect him.
Yeah.
Elliot Wolf saying, I felt responsible for every hit Jacoby Brissett and Drake May took. Mm-hmm. They know how important the line of scrimmage is. Moving past that, though, Milton Williams, the name that popped up. And it was also reported that he looks like a guy that could fit Vrabel's system really well. A disruptor in the interior of the defensive line. We don't know what the timeline looks for Christian Barmore. Devon Gottschall obviously is going to be traded. Yeah. He has to be traded, and it makes sense he's not a fit with the Patriots. So it's not building on the edges, but Milton Williams. So it sounds like left tackle, interior defensive line, number one and number two priority for the Pats.
Fine with that, too. Williams is a guy that almost by association I am fine with. I mean, that defensive line with the Eagles was so filthy McNasty.
Yeah.
If I could get my hands on any of those guys on that line, and this guy has presented himself, I know we'll talk about another one later that they're not interested in, but as far as Williams goes, I'm fine with that. We had heard with Tyrell Williams that he's looking for very violent defensive linemen, and this kid fits the bill. So if you get Stanley and him in an offseason, I think it's a win for the trenches, which we hear that's where they want to attack, obviously.
Yeah, and if Christian Barmore, Mike Vrabel said they'll know more in April about his future and just when he's going to be returning, that makes a lot more sense,
sure.
too. Another one that was notable, Charvarius Ward, outside corner, top target. They need to get better on the outside. That's a guy I identified from the jump. Buccaneers, wide receiver Chris Godwin is their top. I don't think he leaves Tampa.
I don't either.
A lot of people don't think that. But the way I view him is you can't ignore that he's coming off a dislocated ankle in his right leg. He's like, whatever he is this upcoming season, you won't. He's about to be 29. That has to be such a good contract, such a team-friendly deal, or else I don't want a part of it because that won't pay dividends until the following year. If you want someone that's a free agent, like if Cooper Kupp gets cut, I would rather sign a Cooper Kupp than a Chris Godwin.
Yeah, and it's very
even though Cooper,
similar.
and that's a foundational piece that lifts the floor of the team.
It's similar guys. It's kind of where I'm at with Ronnie Stanley too, where I said I know he's long in the tooth, but in a lot of ways I think he can help. I think that helps you. I think that's an advantage for the Patriots having a veteran. It's the same with these wide receivers. I'm not the biggest Godwin or Kupp fan. However, I do understand that you're bringing in a veteran wide receiver, be it Godwin or Kupp, since we're talking about Kupp too. You're bringing in a veteran wide receiver who can help your young receivers who haven't done jack shnikes. And both Godwin and Kupp have won Super Bowls. Like, these guys know how to win. They're veteran guys. They've been top dudes in this league. So, and even though we can acknowledge, I think, both are injury prone at this point and maybe best years are behind them.
Yeah.
They still, your receiver room stinks so bad that you can bring in either one of these veteran guys. To George's point, if the price is right, You can bring them in here and they can help your young guys. And you're kind of taking pressure off them in terms of being the man. I don't think you're asking Chris Godwin or Cooper Kupp at this stage of their career, even as bad as your wide receiver room is, to come in and put up T. Higgins numbers, right? Jamar Chase numbers, whatever. Yeah. You're not asking that. You're just asking, come in here, be a veteran, be a grown-up, be a leader, teach these young guys. Try to get the most out of these young guys. See if we can get them to play a little bit better as a unit. You're a part of that, and that's what you're asking to do. But that shouldn't have a monster price tag attached to it. This is where I'm with George on this. I am not willing to overpay for Godwin or Kupp, quite frankly. Although, if Kupp doesn't get cut and you have to trade for him, after seeing what very little the Commanders gave up.
A 5th rounder for Debo.
I am all of a sudden very interested in Cooper Kupp. Like, if you do have to trade for him, you shouldn't give up. What are you giving up? A 6? Cool. Thanks.
That's also the Commanders taking on a lot of that Kupp.
They did.
Debo Samuel's salary, $17 million.
Yeah, I think they took it.
But the Patriots have the cap space. Like,
right.
I don't want to get overly caught up in they have $126 million because you could have all the money, but what are you going to spend it on? And because you have the money doesn't mean you would give a Ronnie Stanley type contract to a Cam Robinson. Like Cam Robinson and Dan Moore are stopgap left tackles. They're not a long-term solution.
Yeah.
Ronnie Stanley, yes, is up there in age, but he could be that guy for 3 or 4 years.
That's right.
And you could draft and develop behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with wide receiver. And so they have this money where, fine, if that is, we will trade for Cooper Kupp. Here's a 6th-round pick. We'll take on all the dead money.
Yeah.
That's fine, but it has to make sense short-term and long-term. I just don't expect the Patriots to spend all of the $126 million. I expect them to spend a lot of it, and it's not going to be sexy big swings because other parts that were reported too. Patriots prefer signing T. Higgins or Chris Godwin over trading for number 1 receiver, but T. Higgins was tagged, likely the non-exclusive. Yeah. I forget exactly what he got.
They
explored the trade market, including DK Metcalf, but they tempered their expectations, which means they are likely expecting, like what they heard is we're not going to get them.
Well, the Seahawks wanted too much. That's what that means, right?
Well, the Packers made an offer, and it started with their 1st-round pick, 23 overall. So if you want to match a 1st-round pick, that makes a lot of sense for the Seahawks, makes a lot of sense for the Packers, if you ask me. But for the Patriots, you need more to be given up, like very valuable 2nd rounds, 3rd-round picks. Here's an interesting one. Pats are not interested in Josh Sweat.
I don't get this one.
I think it's because Harold Landry's out there.
Oh.
Former Titans edge rusher, has history and rapport. Exactly. Why would they say that?
Okay. Because Sweat's young,
so the report is the Patriots are not interested in defensive end Josh Sweat. Why would they say that?
Yeah.
Harold Landry.
Okay.
28 years old, a few years older.
All right.
6'2", 235.
Injury prone. No, Landry, I'm saying.
He lost the 2022 season to a torn ACL. It's 2 seasons past.
It is.
It's a torn ACL. It happens.
That's true.
They're not what they once were.
I can't call him injury prone. It just happens.
That is a guy that Mike Vrabel knows, wants to bring in.
Yeah.
He had his best seasons under Terrell Williams and Mike Vrabel.
That's right.
And think about the now and then. They're going to draft along the defensive line. They will likely take an edge rusher later in the draft. Mm-hmm. Let's say the defensive front, the 4 up front, it's Harold Landry, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, Keon White, or maybe another edge rusher and Keon White and Christian Barmore. They're working in, however they want to figure this out. You bring in a Harold Landry, that's the guy that helps be an extension of a Terrell Williams. Your defensive line coach is now your defensive coordinator. He's calling plays. He's going to be doing that. Mike Vrabel will not be calling plays. He wants Terrell Williams to get that experience to grow. You get help up front from a guy like a vet like Harold Landry that knows the system, it makes sense there.
It makes sense fit-wise, and I'm picking up everything
and money-wise.
Everything you're putting down, but Josh Sweat is an absolute dog.
But think about it. They're going to swing big on Ronnie Stanley.
Yeah.
Swing big on Milton Williams.
Right.
You swing big on an edge too. That's fine. But eventually, like, you have to fill out the roster. And Mike Vrabel said, like, this roster will look vastly different. That is everything.
Yeah.
That is starting level guys,
right,
backup guys, positions you wouldn't expect. Like, they very well can move on from a Juwan Bentley, which they'll only save $5 million on the cap.
Yeah.
And they can go for Jermaine Sherwood, who's also been floated and that is going from Juwan Bentley, who's a thumper, 245 at middle linebacker. Sherwood is like 215, but fast, lateral, violent player.
Which is a new NFL.
They want to get quicker up front.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a new NFL.
So that, like, think about that turnover where you want to put all your chips in on the 2 biggest areas of need. Interior defensive line, your run defense stunk. You don't know Christian Barmore. and left tackle to protect your quarterback.
So this is very Red Sox.
And they could go offensive line's more important. Go left tackle, go Patrick McCarry, go with the guard.
It's very Red Sox, where it was like we were all pumped for the Soto possible sweepstakes, and then that fell through, and they were like, okay, well, we're just going to spread this huge chunk of change we're going to spend on one player. We're going to reallocate it and fill out the lineup, and they did that, and that's what the Patriots, in your theory, sounds like they'll do. Take a couple big swings, but really it's spreading it out to where you're filling all the holes in this roster, which is smart because this roster looks like Swiss cheese in certain areas. So you're reallocating those funds and bringing in more players as opposed to one or two big ticket guys.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
They got to fill out this entire roster. Hey, good talk on the Red Sox. Obviously, if you guys want more conversations, check out Foxborough Rush. We got new episodes dropping 3 days a week. We go more in depth. But also, stream the entire Sox season with Nessun 360 annual plan available at an all-new reduced price of just $20 a month paid annually. And for a limited time, get 4 free tickets to Fenway with your purchase. Visit Nessun360.com to sign up today. All right, Trav, this is big.
Uh-oh.
Per ESPN's Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano, a lot of folks believe the Titans are interested in trading out of the top pick.
Oh.
The Giants and Jets are among the teams believed to be interested in moving up.
Okay. All right.
So,
Giants and Jets.
Titans are picking number 1 overall.
Yeah.
And everyone knows at number 1, most likely take a quarterback. Of course, Abdul Carter's in the convo. The Jets and the Giants both need quarterbacks. So no matter what, to me, this means that Cam Ward is being drafted number 1. It's just a matter if the Titans love him or this is what's big. Like Sam Darnold could walk. Titans could sign to Sam Darnold. Baker Mayfield-esque deal, right? 3 years, $110 million total value, $60 million guaranteed. Prove it. Let's see you resurge your career. If they do that, they can move from 1 to 3. Get 2 more second-round picks in that, a current second and a future second. And they still get an Abdul Carter, where they get a quarterback, a proven started quarterback. Have your opinions on Sam Darnold. It is the Titans. They got to win games. They still get a game wrecker as an edge player. And the Giants get their quarterback. That can make a lot of sense.
It all makes sense. I think I look at it more as a knock on the prospects. I look at this as a knock against both Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, if it was Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or Drake May, they're not trading back.
The fact that you're even hearing that the Titans are open for business tells you what we already kind of knew, that this is a weak quarterback class draft. But even at the top, sometimes in weak quarterback draft classes, it just means it's top heavy. There's 1 or 2 guys that stand out, but it's not as deep as you would hope. In this case, I think it's all trash. If you're willing to give up that first pick and you need a quarterback, the Titans need a quarterback. They're done with Will Levis. He stinks.
Yep.
And to George's point, if your backup plan is to sign Sam Darnold and kind of figure it out later, that's not a good plan. That's basically a stopgap. Who did you bring up? Geno Smith. You brought someone up that it's
Geno Smith could leave
Baker
Seattle.
Mayfield.
Yeah.
It's like a bridge. It's a bridge guy. I'm not saying they stink.
It's a bridge
I like
guy,
Baker
but
Mayfield.
A guy you trust to start.
Yeah, but it's still
high floor.
If you have the number 1 pick, you take a quarterback to set you up for the next decade. Yep. Now, they just got burned by Will Levis, who was not a number 1 pick, but he was a first rounder. Yep. And it didn't work.
Different regime, different front office.
Well, I'm just saying it didn't work.
Yeah,
right?
But I'm also saying different regime. That's not their pick. The GM and head coach now did not draft him, and that makes it easier to move on from him.
But that's a Will Levis rabbit hole. I'm talking more about if you whiff on a quarterback in this league, it sets you back.
Yes,
so Levis sets them back. Now they have an opportunity to rectify that. Their pick, their guy.
Yep.
And they don't want, allegedly, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I think that's a knock on the prospects. I hear your plan. Maybe you bring in Darnold, but it's just a stopgap until a stronger draft class at quarterback, and then you'll take one.
It says how they view Cam Ward.
Yes. It's a knock on Cam and Shedeur, which is just terrible. I think I like both of these guys, and I think they both can play. And I think the Titans are making a mistake if these reports are true. I think you take your guy, whether it's Cam or Sanders, most likely Cam, and you just live with it and you try to figure it out. But the fact that they're willing to shop that pick is a knock on those quarterbacks.
Let's remember what this season is. It's not just draft season, it's lying season.
It is. It is.
So Titans can put this out. Giants, Jets are interested.
Right.
Giants get aggressive, trade up from 3 to 1.
Right.
Titans get an extra second-round pick, which is valuable for a team and what they want to do and what they need to do. And they could take 2 seconds, trade up to the first. What if they trade back and they go, you know what? We're splitting hairs. We'll live with either. If we can trade back, get more draft assets, and then still get a quarterback, Shador Sanders or Jackson Dart. They could live with that. Because think about it, the price, I think, to go from 3 to 1 for the Giants would be the 3rd overall, this year's 2nd, and next year's 2nd.
Woof.
If you're the Jets, I think it would be the 7th overall pick.
Yeah.
This year's 2nd, this year's 4th.
Yeah.
And then a future day 2 pick.
Sure.
Next year's draft.
That's fair.
But so if you still have a top 7 pick where it's a weak draft, but the drop-off is really after the top 8, 10 prospects.
It's a weak quarterback draft.
It's a weak draft all around.
It's
Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, and there's a big drop-off. There is. Of like blue chip. When you're picking top 10, you want blue chip. We just saw 3 blue chip quarterbacks go in the last draft.
Yeah.
We just saw a little bit to go, but like Malik Neighbors talking about the Giants, that was a top 5 pick. Joe Alt, you mentioned, top 5 pick. Mm-hmm. Marvin Harrison Jr., up there, top 7 pick. Like that was
studs. There's
right?
there's not a lot of studs.
Just the guys off the top of my head. That's it. We saw a deeper draft last year. We saw them in this draft. So keep that in mind. So if you're the Titans, you have 7, your 2nd, the Jets 2nd, which is a high pick, your 3rd, your 4th, the Jets 4th. And then next year you'd have 2/3, which like the assets you can trade for real guys is important, but you need a lot of picks like that.
Can we acknowledge this? This is a Patriots' worst nightmare. This is the worst year to be picking 4th because of what George just said. It's sort of top. It's a top-heavy draft. It is a very good, solid draft in terms of building your roster. This is a trade-back draft. If you're not getting one of the very few studs that George just talked about, you are absolutely bleeping screwed. Picking 4th is the worst case scenario for the Patriots. It is. Carter and Sanders or Carter and Hunter will be gone.
I think they're going to be gone by 3.
I do too.
I really do. And think about this if you're the Giants though. What if you want to trade up to 1 to get Travis Hunter? And then you punt the quarterback position, or maybe they figure things out. Like Matt Stafford's going back to the Rams, but if they got Matt Stafford, they would have had Matt Stafford, Malik Neighbors, Travis Hunter, Tyron Tracy. And reports that came out from the Patriots, they see Travis Hunter as a top corner and receiver in this draft.
He is.
And we always talk about where is he going to play. He could be a receiver one season, corner the next.
Yeah, well, true.
The Giants need help at the cornerback position. You need to go, like, that's a thing of, like, you could put this guy on, all right, he should be a starting receiver and, be a role player on corner or flip it. That could change season to season. That's what makes him so special.
Rodgers is going to be their quarterback.
No. That'd be so stupid.
You can just watch.
Jets fans had enough of him.
He's just going to go right down the street.
I'm not doing it. I'm not going down the Rodgers rabbit hole. I'm not doing it. You want the latest on the Patriots in the NFL? We'll tell you what Mike Vrabel and the Pats should do with the 4th overall pick. Speaking of that in the NFL draft, on our football podcast here on NESN, Foxborough Rush, covering everything Patriots, everything NFL. Available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else you get your podcasts. And hey, check out our latest mock draft 2.0, wherever you watch your podcast. You can find that on YouTube. All right, Trav, nothing more trending than Will Campbell.
Oh.
Size matters.
The arms.
Will Campbell's official arm length is 32 5/8 inches. It's from Evan Lazar. There are a few notable outliers playing tackle with below 33-inch arms, but it's rare. Josh Simmons, 33, Kelvin Banks, 33.5, aren't particularly long either. So here's the thing, though, because when I see this measurement, I thought of Rashawn Slater, all-world left tackle out of Northwestern, 6'4", 310 pounds, 33-inch arms. Rashawn Slater, though, has 80 and an 1/8-inch long wingspan. Because that's what matters. If you're going to have undersized arms but your wingspan, and if you're undersized, you don't have the ideal frame, you got to be long where it's tough for guys to get around you.
Sure.
Will Campbell's wingspan, 77 and 3/8 inches. Trevor Sikkema at PFF, he said, it's the shortest wingspan of any offensive tackle at the Combine since 2011. You want similar wingspans? Joe Tooney, 79 inches, tackle turned into a guard.
He's a guard, bro.
Yes.
He's a guard.
Will Campbell's a guard.
You've been saying this.
And then you also have Gray Zabel, 77.5-inch wingspan. He's a tackle in college turned into a guard.
He's a guard.
Peter Skoronski, wingspan, 79.5-inch wingspan. 3-year starter at left tackle at Northwestern. He's now a guard for the Titans.
He's a guard. Okay, so Will Campbell's a guard. So let's ask the question.
Yep.
I mean, is that worth the number 4 pick? I don't think so. A guy who he sounds like he's a natural guard in the NFL who can spot play tackle. That's not what I want it for. I don't mind that at 8, 9, 10. I don't want that at 4. That feels like a reach. I'm telling you, I'm sorry. If it's not Abdul Carter, if it's not Travis Hunter,
Trade back.
And I am anti Mr. Trade back. This is a draft. Belichick it. Trade back. I'm telling you.
What was interesting before the measurements, Mark Daniels reported the Patriots viewed Will Campbell as a tackle. Our measurements be damned.
Wow.
After the measurements came out, Mark Daniels reported basically saying the Patriots could see size being a factor moving them inside.
Oh, funny how that happens.
Revisionist history a little bit.
Mr. T-Rex arms won't work out at left tackle. Who knew?
Hey, you want to hear more about Boston sports? Check out our daily sports podcast. Boston has entered the chat. Available wherever you get your podcast. New episodes dropping every day of the week. That's Boston has entered the chat. You can also email us, thechat@nesson.com. And for the biggest trending topic in all of sports, we now hand it off to our guys, Athan and Jason, going off the most shocking moment of the weekend. John Cena.
What?
Turning heel.
For me, I think there's a chance that we are looking at a potential heel turn, and it's through John Cena. I think John Cena, desperate to win himself his 17th championship, is going into the chamber, and what happens here, Cody, like you were saying earlier, very protective of his character, flirting with the heel turn, but not actually making the heel turn. This is the opportunity for a desperate John Cena, who kind of did a little bit of a heel thing and shoehorning himself into this match here without having to earn his opportunity. It has been absent ever since. Comes in, wins the match. Cody says no at Chamber to Rock and maybe takes the Rock up on this offer. And why not? John Cena, who wants to cement himself and was just talking, best for business, me winning the championship. He sounds like the company man that The Rock is asking Cody to be right now. There's a lot of bits and pieces that seem to be pointing to John Cena heel turn. And the way I see it, you don't need John Cena to sell merchandise anymore. That's what Cody Rhodes is doing. He is the John Cena merch guy that John Cena was for all those years. If you don't want to turn Cody heel, what better time than in Cena's final run to finally pull the trigger on a heel-esque John Cena where he aligns himself with the authority type deal, and we get this wild run of Cena as 17th champion, and he's a heel while doing it. That's something I don't think anyone would see coming, and I've just been stewing on this for days now. So this is what I'm hoping for, and I really hope to see. Well, Jason, what do we have here? A fully called finish to Elimination Chamber last night as John Cena completes a heel turn that, I'll be honest, I didn't realize I was so alone on an island about until I saw the internet's reaction and even listened to one of my best friends' reactions as we watched the show together. I've got to say, we've got so much to talk about the ramifications of John Cena taking the Rock's offer that he gave out to Cody, but thank you all for tuning in to another edition of Ringside Review. I'm Athan, and of course, joined alongside Jason Ounpraseuth of Nesson.com. We are reviewing Elimination Chamber. We're going to dive right into it. I want to hear your reactions, Jason, because mine was basically I told you so the whole way through. And like I said, I was watching with a really good friend of mine. I laid this out to him, basically how I did to you in our discussion last week, and he hit me with no, it can't go down like that. It's too late for a Cena heel turn, not in his final run. It can't be that way. And one of the last things he said to me when we hung up the phone and got off and we went to bed that night was, I cannot believe what I just witnessed as a diehard John Cena fan. I want to hear your takes, your thoughts. Where are we going now that John Cena has fully blown heel to the point where he left Cody Rhodes in a bloody mess alongside The Rock and, interestingly enough, Travis Scott?
We'll probably get to that maybe at some points. But yeah, the whole Travis Scott was kind of hilarious, kind of threw me off for the moment, but still a minor nitpick in what was probably one of the best segments already in March, already one of the best segments of the year for WWE. When Cena won the Elimination Chamber, I still wasn't on your side, Athan, of the heel turn. I figured maybe, hey, Cena, Cody going up against The Rock. And I think after Cody dropped the go F yourself to The Rock, that's when I started getting hesitant. Like, oh, that's a very big line that The Rock is his character, even personally himself, is not someone to be disrespected. And so you figured he'd have a backup plan if Cody tells him to F himself. And of course, the handshake, Cena going close to to Cody. That sort of cemented to me, like, something's going to happen. And that the serious look, the Rock doing the slit throat and all of that, very well executed segments, kind of just saved the show for me. Kind of thought the Elimination Chamber was kind of middling, personally for me. And for WrestleMania, it's going to be a very interesting build, especially with, we saw all these months with Cena not being on TV. Is he going to be on TV a lot more now? Now he's aligned with The Rock. I'm very curious where this is going to go. But shout out to you, Athan. You called it like pretty much 100%. Minus Travis Scott, of course.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did not foresee a Travis Scott appearance in John Cena's official heel turn with the WWE. But yeah, and you know what? We'll get into the chamber match for the women's side. We're going to talk some Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and some of the ramifications off that. And again, massive moments in the women's chamber match to kick things off. But the big thing I want to look at here right now, like we said, ramifications, where this kind of goes. How do we get from here? Because John Cena is, while this is his return year, he is on a bit of a limited kind of slate of matches. We're only going to see him for so many dates. And I'm assuming that a good chunk of them has to be in this build now. I feel like if WWE goes the route of John Cena maybe continuing the whole I'm not around, but I am being a part of all of this, I don't think I'll like that. I want to hear from Cena eventually. And I loved the mic drop that he did when he came out for his press conference last night after the show was over. I thought, it made sense. I would have liked to have heard something from him, but this is him going full-fledged heel. I don't have to answer to anybody. This is best for business. He teased it in that Royal Rumble press conference that he had a month ago now at this point. But my question for you right now, apparently The Rock said something about going to tape a movie out in Africa, I believe this week. So are we going to see either John Cena or The Rock on SmackDown? Do they go the route of Cena's just going to play the I'm too busy for this, but I am in the championship match? Like, what is this going to look like in your eyes? Because I at this point, I think I'm leaning towards if he's making appearances, he's going to be buttoned up. He's going to be in a suit. I know there was a lot of conversation last night being spun around the internet about what his theme song is going to be, if it's going to be the one that he alluded to in his Chris Van Vliet interview from a few months back. What do you think it looks like from between now and just WrestleMania as a whole?
Yeah, I kind of hope it doesn't go where you're sort of alluding to, Athan, or at least a suggestion that you made that The Rock and Cena just don't appear and we're just kind of relying on Cody to build this feud. I mean, Cody could definitely do that. He's very talented in that aspect. But still, I kind of do want to see some back and forth between him and Cena, especially the promos itself. I think that's really all you need to do is just build out through the promos, have Cena cut his "You People" heel promo, and I think you need at least one or two of those from now until at least a month from now, because I think they're only probably going to appear on, like you said, a handful of shows, and I don't want to see an absent John Cena, even though, yes, that would make sense from a heel perspective, but in terms of building heat and really building a heel character, you need to be out there in person in front of live crowds and have people interact with you rather than just be this absent figure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That is the one concern I have about this all right now is just John Cena's absence and where all of his dates are actually going to lie. Because the other issue we have, if we kind of look forward and go long term now, so down the road, where does this go? If John Cena is in pursuit of the 17th championship, he has desperately now accepted The Rock's offer, like I had talked about prior to the event. I mean, is this going to be one of those things where the bulk of his dates are going to be between now and maybe the summertime, something along those lines? Because I'm having a hard time right now coming to any conclusion other than John Cena winning his 17th championship at WrestleMania. I feel like if there was ever a time for a title change after how big of a deal it was for Cody to win last year, you can't have him lose on some random pay-per-view in the middle of May kind of deal. It has to be in an event like this at WrestleMania with the stipulations as high as they are. And John Cena's heel turn doesn't make sense to me if he's not securing that championship immediately and using what The Rock was offering Cody in his favor to secure his legacy with that 17th title. So I guess we kind of can look at now between now and SummerSlam being like the next big event prior to or post WrestleMania, I should say, not prior. Are we looking at Cena with the title going into through the summer as this evil heel champion? Like, what are you thinking? Where are we going from here?
I could definitely see that. I'm with you. Like, if Cena doesn't win the title at Mania, the Elimination Chamber segment is kind of just for naught, pretty much. Like, you did this big heel turn to basically just have him lose in a month. Like, doesn't really make much sense to me. And I could definitely see, Cena carrying the title through the summer, and it's very similar to when Cody lost to Roman the first time. He spent the whole summer rebuilding himself and getting ready for Roman Reigns again, and so you could do that similar kind of story where Cody builds himself back up while Cena is racking up wins. He's cheating and all of that to, his title defenses at Money in the Bank. That's the next, sort of, high level B pay-per-view that they have. And so you have Cena going around in his big suits or whatever he's going to be dressed up as with the title, while Cody builds himself back up into SummerSlam for that big rematch. That's definitely, I could see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, that's actually another thing that I was talking about too earlier today was just what does it look like with Cena as a champion? Is he just, and this is kind of something I personally do want to see, but I'm curious to hear what you think. Is this going to be Cena now, like full blown 5 moves of doom, like just burying people? I joked with my buddy last night. I was like, forget the golden shovel jokes. John Cena pulled out the platinum shovel. Not only did he throw himself into the chamber, he won the chamber and got the heel turn too. That's the trifecta right there. That's all 3 in a row. So are we looking at, is this going to be Cena just burying people along the way to like solidify that 17th legacy? Or is it going to be maybe, do we see a route where maybe Cena, because he is kind of out of the game at this point, I mean, yeah, he's back, but he hasn't been in the game like he was during his initial run through the WWE. Does he maybe struggle a bit here and there that ultimately leads to him losing the title at a SummerSlam or something along those lines, where he then maybe realizes the poor choice he made and it kind of culminates into him having like a nice farewell where, you know what, I was wrong to do that, and realize his mistake? Because there's so many directions you can go. And for me, if it's not Cena burying people like it's 2007, I don't know if I want to see it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it has to be that. It has to be Cena burying people, and I think you could definitely play like sort of a generational kind of thing. It's kind of awkward because Cody's kind of like, he's kind of similar to Cena's generation, but you could just, it's WWE. You could just, play loosey-goosey.
You can ignore all
that. Exactly. But you can play a generational kind of thing where Cena is like this generation of WWE superstars. They're not on my level. He's burying all of them. And Cody is, again, the savior of all of that, proving that, hey, we still have this fight against, the old guard, so to speak, of The Rock and John Cena. And so definitely, I would agree with you. I would want him to sort of be burying people. I guess the argument for the other way, you want to play devil's advocate, is that Cena, he doesn't have any more, so he has to cheat to win. And then I guess through all these dramatic promos and storytelling, if you want to call it that, he realizes that, hey, cheating isn't the way to go. This isn't the way to, finish your career. You have to do it with hustle, loyalty, and respect. And so maybe that they could do it in that sort of way, but that's not what I want to see. That seems way too dramatic in this sort of like cinema style storytelling that I'm not really a big fan of. I do want sort of what you're saying, Athan, just have him bury people and just sort of have Cody be the savior for the rest of the WWE roster.
Yeah, I see that there's so many possibilities that this leads you with, and how does John? Because I do feel like the inevitable end of this is going to be John Cena realizing his mistake, and you kind of said something that made me think of this. It's like maybe by the tail end of this final championship run he has, maybe he has sort of like a hollow feeling, like it's not like the other 16 championships he won through hustle, loyalty, and respect, and maybe he like realizes it towards the tail end where he loses, but he ends up shaking Cody's hand at the end of it or something like that, because as much as I want to see this title, it just doesn't feel realistic that he's going to be stomping people out. It's what I want to see, but there's got to be some sort of storytelling in there, and it just leaves the fan to wonder, like where do we all go with this? What does John Cena look like as a 17-time heel champion? But let me ask you this. In regards to the rest of the Elimination Chamber, because while everyone's talking about one big moment, there were some other big moments in this night, and I do want to circle onto Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, because you and I were a little bit critical about this. We weren't necessarily sure about the match itself, and from the looks of it, it looks like we both have some differing opinions on how the match actually went. I will say that for me, I do consider myself semi-casual in that maybe some of the things WWE does entertains me more than it does some more diehard fans. I was pretty happy with the match itself. My biggest gripe out of the entire night, and somebody needs to talk to Canada about this, was the crowd itself felt like it was flat from start to finish. And I did see some jokes online about people saying, this crowd didn't deserve a moment like a John Cena heel turn based off the way they acted the whole night. But aside from that, I really enjoyed what Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn did, especially like the culmination to the end there with just the barbed wire chair spots that they were doing. It felt like two guys trying to kill each other. I want to hear your thoughts, your opinions on this one here, and maybe where they kind of go from here, because I was expecting some sort of, like we could, and they even kind of teased it too, where we weren't going to get an actual definitive finish and it was going to spill into a WrestleMania match, but we got a definitive finish. We got a Kevin Owens going over Sami Zayn, what feels like again. So now I'm just kind of left wondering what exactly we do here, but I want to hear your thoughts and kind of the direction you think they're going to go with this one, because I'm kind of at a loss.
Yeah, I would say, I think the psychology of the match was just way off. I personally didn't feel like it felt like two guys trying to kill each other. Like, they started the match a very standard wrestling match, rather than, having Sami do his entrance and Kevin Owens attacking him from behind, because in these lead up to these promos, I'm going to handicap you. I'm going to end your career. I never really got the sense of all that. And even for your point for the crowd, I felt like it was kind of a standard WWE crowd. I feel like, the way most crowds are, they aren't really paying attention to the matches. They're waiting for the big moments, and I don't think they delivered on those big moments enough, in my opinion. Not until the barbed wire chair spots, but other than that, what they do, they had some chairs thrown around in the ring. They had the hockey stick, which they didn't really play up enough, in my opinion. They just kind of did the standard, treated like a kendo stick, more or less. So I don't really think the psychology of the match played well for me in terms of what this was billed as, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn trying to kill each other, trying to handicap each other and their careers. That's just my opinion of the match, at least. And, I don't think Michael Cole's commentary really helps, especially with the way he was playing up the action of the match. I felt like it was very over dramatic in terms of what we actually were seeing on the screen. And maybe that was a case of, again, for the WWE crowd, maybe so people are just on their phones and you're listening to Michael Cole on commentary, and so that's what your impression of the match is. But that, at least, just in my opinion, Athan, at least, that's what I thought of the match.
All right, so I'll take it. There was a lot of conversation. You brought up Michael Cole in his commentary. There was a lot of conversation ripping into Michael Cole about just his commentary overall, and that's a conversation for another day. But I was definitely interested with a lot of what people were saying after the night, with just Michael Cole not being able to hit the mark on certain things, like calling the watch that John Cena used to throw a couple of haymakers into Cody Rhodes' face as brass knuckles and not the Rolex that it actually was, as if he was calling it with his eyes shut or something. And then also, I will say that there were some instances that you probably hear Michael Cole probably popping a little too much for certain things that were going on. I enjoyed it. I don't know. That's just kind of my take on it. But with this match getting a definitive ending this time, this kind of goes back to our original gripe. Are we going to do this again now at WrestleMania? Because they didn't really leave us a window, and I'm assuming no, because Randy Orton's back, and I'm pretty stoked for that. It looks like Randy Orton, who teased the punt kick, is going to go into a bit of a legend killer mode for this rivalry as well. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. Randy, Kevin Owens, do we think Sami Zayn has some sort of involvement, or is it just them two colliding at Mania?
I think, again, with the psychology of the match, you would think Sami Zayn is out until Mania, and I could definitely see him running in to protect Randy when Kevin Owens is, probably going in for the win. I could definitely see that happening. And, Randy Orton, I guess, being this purveyor of justice against Kevin Owens, just trying to right his wrong of, the things that he's done over these past couple months against Cody, against Sami Zayn. And so I definitely can see Sami Zayn having an involvement with the match, probably just more of a run-in rather than just maybe a triple threat, perhaps. Because like you said, I don't want to see these two facing off in a match for a long time, at least a year or two.
All right, well, you heard it here. We don't need any more Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for some time. The last thing we got to get into here, Bianca Belair winning the women's chamber match. This was one that I wanted to pick her going into this. I don't want to sit here and be like, I tried calling everything, but I did want to pick Bianca, but I had a hard time coming to the conclusion of how we got there. And I was not in the camp of thinking, and apparently there was a pretty big group of people that thought this, that Naomi was the one who took out Jade Cargill. So her return and then coming after Naomi completely blindsided me. I was not ready for that. And listen, Bianca going up against Rhea Ripley, because I'm assuming she's not losing when this comes out, I guess tomorrow, technically. So the way I see it, a Bianca versus Rhea Ripley match, just in terms of match quality, I'm here for. It's a matchup that I don't think we've really gotten before, if I'm not mistaken. At least I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe there was an instance where they've crossed paths, but I don't know. It's not something that I can remember off the top of my head. So I'm here to see it. But what did you think of this one? Because the heavy hitters, Alexa Bliss, I loved the teasing that they were kind of doing with her, just kind of completely dominating, but it's clear that they have some sort of path that they're preventing her from getting any legit championship shot, and I don't like that, because you want to strike when the iron's hot, and we're not getting that for her now. Bayley got taken out pretty early in the match, and she was the person I settled on, because I was like, who else if it's not Bayley at this point? And then, of course, Jade Cargill's attack on Naomi, just, you want to talk about taking her out. From the beginning of the attack to her literally slamming the chamber door on her. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how that spins. So I guess Naomi's a heel now. I want to hear your thoughts on all this. There's a lot going on in that women's chamber match.
Yeah, this definitely requires another promo to explain what's going on, because if Naomi's a heel, then what does that mean for Bianca? Because she was crying and agonizing in her chamber over her friend being taken out. So I guess would they not be friends anymore? And with Jade Cargill, obviously they were a tag team before, and so they're playing on that history there. And so I'm not really sure whether that's gonna go. I sort of thinking that maybe Bianca kind of, if Naomi is, depending on where they go with that, maybe some type of tag match going on between Cargill and Naomi, because I don't think these two can have a singles match. Cargill's still kind of rough in the ring. This segment did inspire confidence that she can improve, and she is improving. But for Bianca, I think they went with a safe choice for me personally. There's really not much else can go. I was kind of fearing Liv Morgan was going to win, and we're going to do Rhea Liv for a seventh time, which no one wants to see. Same with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and so I thought that was a safe choice. And Bianca is a legitimate big star, and that hair whip spot is just I'm surprised they don't do that at every big show, because it's just one of the highlights of her matches every time she does that hair whip spot.
Yeah, oh man, dude, that hair whip off of Liv Morgan's back, my God, you talk about a crack, and the welt afterwards, because there were some pictures of it too. Holy moly, it's it's literally like having a weapon growing off the top of your head. It's insane. But yeah, I think I'm with you on the safe pick. I really like Bianca, and I've actually, for me, even for the last I don't know, however, it feels like a year that they've been a tag team, or that she's been doing tag team-esque work. I've been kind of in the boat of I like Bianca as a singles competitor. She is just an extreme athlete, and I think she's one of the peak women's wrestlers that they have right now, and I want to see her doing another singles run. I'm assuming that the Jade Cargill Naomi thing might end up serving as some sort of distraction to that potential championship match, so maybe that's the out for her to lose, is that she couldn't focus on this big opportunity because her two best friends are fighting kind of deal. Maybe that's the route they go, but I'm fine with her winning it. I like the matchup. Her and Rhea should tear the house down. I would be shocked if it doesn't end up being a really good matchup between the two of them, because both of them are phenomenal in the ring. So I think we're booked for a really good WrestleMania match between the two. I know I'm kind of writing off Io Sky here, but I don't think she wins on Monday night, just on an arbitrary Monday before WrestleMania. Unless I'm completely wrong on that one and whiff, I guess I can only be right so many times. So I guess we're going to just see a really good matchup between the two of them at WrestleMania, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, WWE just never hesitates to throw, trash or shade at Io Sky. It just seems like they never want to push her, even though they're just half-heartedly kind of push her. It's a very weird kind of thing. And so yeah, definitely can see, I think Bianca, I agree with you. It's weird that she was a tag star, especially the way they market her. She's the EST, the strongest, fastest, but she needs a tag partner to help win her matches. That just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it
never made sense. Never made sense.
Yeah, but I agree with you. That's, big match there. I think they have some history in NXT, and so they could play off that if for a bit of a storyline kind of thing to add some juice to this match. But yeah, definitely very interesting direction that they went, because obviously, they could have risked it with Roxanne Perez and go for a younger star, but they decided to go Bianca Belair, who, is a legitimate superstar, but it felt like they weren't really pushing her that way in the tag division.
Yeah, it definitely does feel a little bit random, but I guess we'll have to find out on tomorrow night's Monday Night Raw. Once again, as always, from me to Jason, we thank you all for joining us for another edition of Ringside Review. We'll catch you guys Tuesday bright and early to talk about some Raw action.
Shout out Athan and Jason breaking that down. I was shocked, dude.
I'm still in shock.
Everything he did to turn around that image, man. And it was the biggest news in all sports. He's Travis Thomas. You can't see him. I'm George Balekji. This is Boston's End of the Chat. You will see us same time, same place tomorrow. Have a good one, everyone.